Hurry, define this place or we'll be late.
Make a left on Astrology Avenue. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant right. It should be right here at 444 Spirit Way. Oh, turn.
It looks like Renee. Yay, we're on time.
The James and Kelly Show.
Great, let's start the show.
Surprise! Hi, Kelly.
Hi, honey.
I lost something and I can't find it.
Wonder what it is you lost.
I don't know what is it that I lost.
What is
I
that?
just traveled back from Atlanta and I don't know where I left something.
Or did you not bring something to it?
Yeah, that's probably more it. Hi, Kelly.
Hi there.
Everyone. Yeah,
Hi.
it started as a mistake and then I was like, oh, well, the hell with it.
So how does that happen? Just a oops and then a
Oops.
a whack?
You know what? I haven't seen my upper lip in about, 10 years. So I should just try it out.
It looks great.
Thank you.
Are you getting used to it?
I'm freezing.
Oh.
No, I'm getting used to it, I guess,
Oh, I like that. That's
and
good.
you haven't seen me. You didn't know.
No, I only saw a picture on Facebook.
Okay.
So, but it looks great. It looks great.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. And Margaret, you look like you're 10.
That's what we were just talking about. Definitely makes you look younger. Definitely.
That's the number one comment for people. You look much younger. I'm like, okay. Was I really that old looking?
Well, tell us, how was your event? You did a Hay House event.
I did a Hay House event in Charleston, South Carolina, and I didn't get a lot of time to walk around the city where I was, but I felt it as soon as I got off the plane.
Right.
But you know what I felt, Kelly, which you said probably some slave type of thing, and I felt something very different. I looked at the window before I was looking at land, and I saw merchant ships, and it was like American Revolution time.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Cannons, and
yes,
it was red coats, and it was like, that's what I saw there. I saw one ship with a mask it was like a tan mask with a red cross on it, and it was like a merchant ship. So like, that's weird. Never expected that. Now, is that bizarre? Because they have all those little inlets for the waterways there.
Right.
And
it's funny because there is, and you probably don't know this, but there was a ship tour that they do of the ships you just.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, as you're saying this, I'm like, did you see this?
No.
Yeah, no, this is okay. So it's that plus the whole slavery thing in that area. Yeah, with that, but it's extraordinary energy.
We got there. It felt great, and I'm getting to the hotel. The wonderful driver, this man Sam, and I said, "Oh, this is beautiful." He goes, "Yes," and that's the Mother Emmanuel Church, but the massacre occurred. I'm like, "Huh?" In 2017. And he told me that. I looked up, I remembered it. 9 people died.
Yes.
Neo-Nazi guy.
I remember that.
I just started crying. I was like, oh my God. But a lot of churches, a lot of beautiful. From what I could see for a little bit. And then they did an event for Hay House. Their Hay House Live Plus new streaming service, which is brand new. And they have all their content from the years when Louis started till up to date. So you have Deepak Chopra and Wayne. And so I was talking all about that. And I'm doing a live event in March with Hay House Live Plus. And every month they're going to have 2 live events. And I had to see a teleprompter. I was talking about this, so I should probably know it in my heart now. But it's like $299 for the whole year, and then $29.99. And I didn't read it beforehand, so I'm just like, and I did readings and I did teaching, and 2 other great mediums that were there that I shared the time with was Sean Leonard from Canada and Susan Groff from LA, from Manhattan Beach. Wonderful, wonderful mediums. So we'll have them on the program
for sure. Wow, very exciting.
And we should mention, everybody, we're going to be changing our look soon.
We are. We even have a new title. We're changing our name.
We're changing our name after hearing from a lot of people who run social media places and SEOs. And to reach more people, we got to change the name. And you want to tell them what it is?
No, you tell them.
You can't remember.
No, I can't. It's a quick meeting.
Life after death and beyond.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're going to be doing
Life After Death and Beyond. Okay.
Right.
Which is a great title.
There we go.
Oh my God.
And how was your week? It
was peaceful. Everything was peaceful.
Good.
Which I'm loving that.
Good. Yeah. Hi, Angela and Julie and Rose and Lori, Don, Connie.
Hi, Dr. Susie.
Oh, I watched your show Thursday. from the
Oh, what's his
hotel.
name?
I loved it. It's like, I should
You.
be in there with you, but yeah.
I wish you had been. You can jump in anytime.
Well, it was a replay. So
It was, I'm doing a topic. I like to do it. I'm doing a topic now.
you should. Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. So that was a good one. I'm
Trey.
doing, Are You an Empath this Thursday?
Oh, that's great. Are you an
Yeah.
empath? Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's perfect with our guest tonight as well.
Which is going to be a great one. We have a great guest, everybody.
Great guest. In a second, how I met this guest. And Kelly, you want to do something? Susie Wright, hello. Susie, you want to say hello to everyone? Linda.
Linda from Australia. Hi.
Hey.
Looking good, James. I love that. Jennifer Sherman from Southern California. Yay. Trey says you look 15 to 20 years younger.
Thank you. Everybody says that.
Lori,
Next, I'll dye my hair. Like
Lori, look, Claire
9.
says, I never saw my husband without his mustache, and I knew him for 43 years.
I haven't seen myself without a mustache in about 20. So
I know.
it's weird. It's just like another person. It's just weird.
Right?
Yeah. I'm gonna let it go for a little bit, not to grow it back, just maybe for a month or so. Just
Okay.
yeah.
Get back
And
into it.
personal reasons too, but yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah.
all right. So do you want me to hit a little astrology?
Now, so I talked to Kelly earlier because things get a little weird.
Yeah.
And March supposedly comes in like a lion, goes out like a lamb. But then we go into eclipse season. So please share it with everybody.
We do. And welcome to March, as you said. I mean, this is March. I think the first 2 weeks it's a little less. It's a little easier. And the second 2 weeks take a little more serious tone. So the first half is a little easier. But I want to remind everybody that all the planets are still direct.
Right.
So that gives us energy, but just make sure you're not taking on too much, because as the month progresses, I'll explain why you may not want to take on too much. So as you just
I don't
mentioned,
know what
James,
you're talking about, Kelly.
Yeah, I know you don't. Oh God. So first of all, we are going to be beginning eclipse season really soon. In about another week or so, we're going to venture into eclipse season. And eclipses are all about change. It's when, life will begin to change again. So the first eclipse is March 25th, and the second eclipse is April 8th. And these are big eclipses. So as we get into the energy getting closer to these eclipses, watch for things such as you might feel a little nervous. You might feel a little more easily destabilized. You might be thrown off center a little bit. So how do we combat that? How do we remedy that? Well, one way is to take daily walks, practice like very simple breathing techniques. That's really great to calm you down.
Working out,
Working out,
I do
meditating, running, singing, dancing.
Singing, just sing.
Exactly. Anything that brings you a calmer mind, So make sure you're doing that. So first couple of things, and then we'll bring on our guest. But I want to mention this, that on March 7th, we have 2 changes that occur on March 7th. So the first change on March 7th, which is just 3 days from now, Mercury, which is the planet, it rules communication, it rules education and school and writing. It transits into Pisces in Vedic astrology. So Mercury into Pisces. Pisces is the dreamy sign. It's kind of escapism. So Mercury is debilitated. It's at its weakest when it's in Pisces. So I mention this because for 3 weeks, from March 7th till March 25th, we have to watch our communication. We have to watch the way we speak to others. We have to watch our writing, okay? Because during this Mercury transit into Pisces, let's say you might be thinking one thing, but it comes out another way. So you really want to watch the way you communicate, okay? Because
I promise I'll finish her forward before March 7th.
Yeah, if you could before then,
I will.
It's really funny. And,
I will.
Poor Linda today. And Linda, if you're watching, we understand. We had a situation. And the other thing on March 7th that happens, which I think is an amazing thing, is that Venus transits into Aquarius. And why is that important? Venus is the planet of love, relationships, and finances. But what's important about this is it's in Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign of humanitarian. It's the humanitarian. And so for people who always say, Kelly, how do I meet people? How do I find my group? This is an excellent time. And it will take place almost all throughout all of March. It starts on the 7th. It goes to the end of March.
Kelly, can I interrupt you for a second?
Of course.
In Aquarius, would that mean, and I'm not one for this necessarily, but would that mean a good possibility of meeting people on the computer, because Aquarius rules technical things?
Absolutely. You could find your group on a computer.
There you go.
You could find, absolutely, James, because it's kind of anything that you're interested in, and, you know, finding your group, helping humanity. It's an excellent time for that. So there'll be some plus sides in March, and there'll be some, you know, our growth period. We'll be growing a lot.
Yes.
How'd you like that one?
I think that's a good one.
We'll grow a lot. You're growing right now? Oh, yes.
Oh yeah, I am growing.
It'd be harder. Oh, yes, I am.
Yes, I had a lesson in that this morning about communication. Yeah.
That's right.
I'm like,
see,
wow.
I always say that you get hit ahead of time.
I always get hit ahead of time.
You always, because you're on the world stage. You always get it ahead of time.
It's
always
true. It's so true. So, wow. Well, can I introduce our guest, I guess?
Please.
Right? So many months ago, a couple of months ago, I was up in Santa Barbara looking around there, and I was thinking of relocating, and I had a lovely tour up there. But one of the highlights, and it's all kismet, I was in Ohio, met some friends who I hadn't seen since Sedona days, and on the street.
Which was amazing.
It's amazing. And that evening, they brought a friend to dinner, and this is I met her at dinner. And Carol, her name is, and I just hit it off really with Carol, what she was saying, what her message was about, what her energy was about, who she is. And I said, your work is very important. I'd love to have you on our show. So we have Carol here.
Carol Aron.
Carol Aron. So Carol Aron, please welcome to the show. Yay!
Hello.
And Kara's very humble and shy, I will say that. And I thought, you know what? I wanted her to get out to the world. So Carol, welcome. And
thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to see you. I know we tried to have lunch with you after we met you, and now you're back home, so we may have to drive to you.
Okay. It's okay. Good to see you again. Yeah. Why don't you tell everybody, first of all, what you do? We talked about this earlier. We have labels, which kind of limiting, really.
Right.
But share us how you describe what you do or what you're involved in.
Okay. Well, my background is in art. I was an art major in high school and in college. I taught art for many, many years, both in New York and California. And so I've always had that right brain going on, you know, where I imagine, I daydream, I think out of the box, all that kind of stuff. And growing up, I also had, these premonitions. I had premonition dreams when I was a teenager. That was, and they were not good premonitions, like somebody would pass away in the family. So, but then after that, that stopped, and I just started knowing things. So somebody would tell me something, and I would have to stop myself from saying, "Oh, I know," because then you would get, "Well, how do you know? And who told you?" Right? So I had to be really careful about that. And I was also grew up in a Catholic family, Italians.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Irish.
And
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was very curious in school, and I wanted to ask questions about angels and about all of that. I loved it. But we couldn't ask questions. We had to memorize out of a catechism book. So I think that looking back, a lot of things were stifled for me, and who knows where I would have been or done, or I don't know. We'll never know. But as time went on, I was in a car accident, and this was in the 90s, early 90s. And I had been to acupuncturists and chiropractors and doctors, and finally I was told that my last option was cervical fusion.
Wow.
And I've always asked a lot of questions. So I asked, well, what is that? And the more information I got, the less I liked it. And what happened was my body spoke to me. It was like, we're not doing that. I mean, it was like everything just condensed in me really tightly. And my husband was with me, and we walked out of the doctor's office, and he put his arm around me. He was very compassionate and said, well, I guess it's surgery. And I said, no, it's not. And he said, what are you going to do? I said, I have no idea. 2 weeks later, I was in a salon, and one of the girls, the hairstylist, said to me, hey, do you believe in energy healing? I said, I suppose it's, possible, but I don't know anybody. And she introduced me to someone right there. And this lady was the daughter of the lady who began the Cheesecake Factory in California.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
remember her.
Yes. And her daughter was extremely intuitive and very, very talented. So I had a few sessions with her, never had the surgery. And I said, she said, you can do this. I said, do what? I mean, I had no idea. And it wasn't until many years later, I had foot surgery. I was teaching, and I thought my career was over. I could barely walk. And the surgeon didn't want to hear from me anymore. He said, it's all in your mind. So I was introduced to somebody because my cat was itchy, and I brought him to a holistic vet in Santa Monica who invited me to meet somebody. That's how it goes in my life. And that's the person who ended up teaching me how to deal with energy, how to feel it, how to shift it, how to communicate with it.
What she said to you about the energy, did you get a sense of, oh, yeah, I remember this energy. I remember, now I know this stuff.
I got that the day I met this man. It was like a recognition that was palatable. And I thought, I will follow you to the ends of the earth if I have to, but I need to learn from you. And
was that the doctor Dr. Yelm, or I don't know?
Dr. Ewan.
Ewan.
Yeah.
Tell us about him. What was he like?
Oh, he was amazing. He came from the Shaolin temples of China. He knew Kung Fu. He was the technical assistant on the Kung Fu show. And he was also a structural engineer, a chiropractor, a homeopathist.
Wow.
The man was amazing.
Wow.
And he decided to use this energy that he would use in the Kung Fu. And instead of using it toward an opponent, he used it to actually shift energy to heal.
Wow.
And then you studied with him?
Oh, I did for about 3 or 4 years, and I got certified in the method. Wow. And then
did it change over the time you were developing? Did you notice a subtle change in your energetic body or the energies around you?
Oh gosh, yeah. Not always subtle either.
No, huh?
Yeah, because when I was practicing, took my hours in for all of that, I would just practice on anyone, friends and animals and whatever. But I started to feel their pain so much that I thought, I don't think I can do this. And fortunately, somebody said to me, well, you can dial that down. I said, really? And I did. I just imagined this dial. I dialed it down, and it improved.
Wow.
Yeah. And now I just feel things like momentarily, just enough to connect, but I don't hold it.
And so when you with clients, do they tell you what their problem is, or do you just want to talk with them and just don't say anything?
They do, but it's usually not really the problem.
That's a good one. It's true.
Yeah.
So did you go all the way down to where it starts, like the trauma or something that it starts from, or?
Oh, I can tell you there's all kinds of things. When I was teaching, I didn't use this gift because I was teaching about 150 kids a day, and it was chaos all the time, But one day I was teaching drawing animals, and this little boy, he was darling, and he held his pencil like a claw. And I said, just try and put these fingers on the top and your thumb at the bottom. And he said, I've been holding my pencil like this my whole life for some reason. I thought your whole life. You're 11 years old. Are you kidding?
Right.
But as soon as that thought came to my head, that's when the hologram opened.
Tell us about that. What does that mean, a hologram?
It means that it's like a movie, a visual that I can see playing.
Okay.
And in this case, I saw a very old man, like a scribe, writing handwritten books in dim light, and he had arthritis.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, so I just did a little quick correction. And I said, and I felt that, whoosh, that energy you feel when something shifts. And so I said, would you mind trying that again? And he picked up his pencil. He said, well, for some reason, I seem to be able to hold it this way. And even I scratched my head walking away thinking, could it be that easy?
So you saw a past life in the hologram vision.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or a past life memory, would you say? Or
yes. I mean, some people don't believe in past lives. And Dr. Ewan, the person who taught me, said, look, it can be real or not, but if it tests and it improves someone, just go with it. So
yeah, because I think past, present, and future are one. It's
yes, exactly. Or dimensional, or something.
And those conditions, sometimes people choose those conditions to have in this lifetime for a very specific reason, wouldn't you say?
A lot of times it's to heal the past. So whatever that scribe was feeling, the restriction, the pain, whatever it was, sometimes the spirit just holds that and needs a release.
Wow.
And then they'll find the person that says, oh, there's a live one. I think they can help.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. What a gift.
Yeah, that was an amazing. When I first started, and I was practicing still, and this lady came to me and she used to read angel cards. And she was having a really tough relationship with her adult son. So she came for that issue, James. That's why I say they come for one thing, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And so I sat with her, and as we were sitting, I just sensed there was something she was wearing that was weakening her, because things either strengthen us or they weaken us energetically. And so I mentioned that to her, and she took off her ring, plopped it in my hand, and it was like oh no, because this ring felt so heavy. And the next thing I felt was this really disturbing energy right in front of me. And I thought, what is going on? And it turned out to be her mother.
Wow.
And they had a very cantankerous relationship. And I had to quietly negotiate with her mother. The woman didn't even know what I was doing at this point. And
was the mother passed over? Was still
she
in the
had
body?
passed over.
She had passed over. Okay.
Yeah. And once the woman had enough satisfaction, the ring became so light it fell through my fingers.
Wow.
And so I picked it up and I said, try it now. And she said, oh, it feels different. But it was isn't that interesting? Like, that relationship was the one that really needed the healing.
And the energy was felt in the ring.
Yes. And that was the first time I felt energy in an object.
And do you find that sometimes, Carol, that I'm sure you must, there are several different things going on with the client that?
Absolutely. Yes. There's like layers.
And
it's fascinating. My friends and I, we say we go down the rabbit hole with that.
Right.
But the thing is, with some clients, they'll get a shift and an improvement. Something definitely happens, but they won't stop to acknowledge it.
That's what I wanted to ask you. So would there be some clients that don't want the healing on some level, or holding on to that they don't want to release it? Have you run into that?
There is that. Yeah, there is that. Sometimes I have to ask why that resistance is happening.
And you ask that to the client out loud, or do you just? No.
Well, yes, at times I do. I do. And sometimes they'll come up with something that's pretty, pretty insightful. Because the client's words, for whatever reason that they choose the words to give me, there's a lot of information in that. Right.
Yeah. It's very homeopathic. In homeopathy, they look for specific words that unlocks the subconscious.
Oh. Yeah.
And Carol, I have a question for you, which just pops in my head, if you don't mind. So let's say a client comes to you and they're acting one way, or you're so intuitive that the body's telling you one thing, but what you're picking up is something different, or you're going to introduce something different to your client. We say, yeah, it's really not that what I feel. And you have to wear kid gloves, I assume, with that,
Oh,
right?
all the time. Yeah.
How do you get through that process?
Yeah, no, it's not that difficult. It's, it's like, yeah, I understand. Let's try and look at it a little bit differently, you know.
Mhm.
And I'll just say, if this resonates with you, let me know, and if not, that's okay. And then I'll just tell them what I'm feeling or what I'm getting. And I rarely get resistance from that.
Tell us about the Duchini. How do I say this? The Duchini codes?
Duchini, very good.
Thank you.
They used to call me Duccini in school. Yeah, it's my family name, Duchini.
Okay.
You explained this when I first met you. That's right. That's right. I remember that. Because
Yeah,
you're from New York.
I'm from New York.
Yeah. Long Island. Yes.
Yeah, Long Island. And yeah, so I had a client who is now a very dear friend. And at the time, she was having chronic hip pain. I mean, severe, where she would get out of bed on all fours and then hold on to things to stand up. And I mean, it's really awful. And some of the treatments that were proposed to her and tried on her made matters worse. It was pretty bad. Yeah, people get really medieval, trying to correct the body, right? And so one day we were sitting outside on my patio, and I was doing energy corrections, just finding weaknesses and strengthening them and things like that. And we'd worked together long enough that she was really following me and tracking. She understood what was going on. So I went to convey to her what I was getting. And as I did that, it came out gibberish. So I thought, that's odd. And I stopped and I tried again. And she looked at me and she said, I think you're getting a download. And I said, well, I tried to write it and it didn't make sense because it was either all vowels or all consonants. I can't remember. And then I thought, well, I'm an artist. Maybe I need to just,
Oh.
So
Wow.
I grabbed some blank paper and a pen, and my hand just started going, until when it stopped, I had no strength in my fingers. The pen would just drop out of my hand. So I looked at this, I call it scribbles, but they're quite pretty actually. And I looked at it and we looked at each other and I handed it to her like, I don't know, what do we do with this? And she looked at it and her body started to move and wiggle. She stood up from the chair. She was walking around, like moving her hips. And we were aghast, like, wow, what do we do with this?
Wow.
Right. So that became the Duchini codes. And then I brought the prototype with me to a networking event. And I was sitting at a table with about 10 or 12 people. And this man from Japan came with an interpreter. And he asked, what is everybody talking about? Because they were passing around this picture in an envelope. Nobody even looked at a picture. I had it in an envelope at the time. And so they said, I don't know, something So he asked if he could try it. And he held it and his eyes closed and he got very quiet for a while. And then he just looked across the table and went, peaceful, peaceful. So he asked his assistant, his interpreter, if these were available. He turned out to be a dentist with a dental practice in Japan. And he thought it would help his patients.
Oh.
But it wasn't ready, anywhere near ready at the time.
So were all of these downloaded?
Well, that one was, initially, but the ones, some of them, what happens is somebody will introduce a problem, like somebody was having reproductive organ problems, a lady. And I knew and it was just coming up, like not that one person, but several. So that kind of keyed me into thinking about it. And sometimes I do research, like what could be going on? What is endometriosis? What is happening with this? And then I'll also bring in what I've learned from energetics, how to test, where's the problem coming from? Is it physical, non-physical? Is it psychic stuff that you're just carrying for somebody else? And I just start writing and writing and writing and writing until I pretty much covered a lot of bases, including karmas and past lives and all sorts of things, until it feels complete. And sometimes that guidance with the scribble language will come in and say, let's add this. and I'll do that. And then it goes to Angela, who puts a picture on it and puts it on my website.
So it's per individual then?
Or per problem.
Or per problem?
Yeah,
Okay.
per problem. Like we just made a new one. It's called Mitochondria Recharge. And I'm just hearing so many problems with mitochondria, right? So it's pretty cool.
So, Carol, I just got to say this because you brought back a memory to me, which I've never thought about for 20-something years. When I was in my development circle, as we're developing mediumship, I remember I used to get these, I wouldn't say downloads, they would show me these symbols, all different types of symbols above me and around me. And it happened in Brazil, too, when I was there. And I didn't know what it was, but I just knew it was energetic. I know it's called engrams or, anagrams or those. It was just, and that reminds me exactly because I guess it is all symbols and it's all sacred geometry, isn't it? And
yeah, I think that they want to speak to us in the way that we can get it best. And for me, I'm a very visual person. Some people might hear it through music, sound, but that's it makes sense now that everything came to me in a very visual way.
And are these symbols, if you can call them, are they? I don't know how to describe it. Soft, curvy, hard.
They are
all different.
I'm going to show you one.
Oh, great!
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
There. Let's see. I have. They're so cool, actually. Okay.
We should tell everybody your company is connecting the dots.
Connecting your dots.
Connecting your dots.
Yeah, because everybody's dots are different, right? So,
that's right.
Yeah. And that's why it's very particular to your dots, what's happening in the mind, body, spirit world. Here's one that this is pretty interesting.
And how many years have you been seeing these things, would you say, Carol?
Gosh, probably about 10 years. I don't know if you can see this. It's light. Sometimes I'll do it in a very dark pen.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, got that. It's like a doodle. Yep.
Yeah, it's like a doodle. But they're all different shapes. Some have very tiny, intricate angles and curves, and then a line will just jut out of it, and then a little curve, and then done,
Wow. And does it depend on, it's really interesting, the type of issue that's going on, the design? Do you notice that have you over the years noticed that, I don't know, more busy with a certain condition or less busy or similar designs?
Sometimes I'll notice that.
Okay.
There was one that was so frenetic. I'm trying to remember which one it was, but it was like and fast. And
do you remember the problem? What was the problem for that?
I cannot remember. I'd have to go back and see which one it was.
And do you do ones for cancer?
Not yet. Yeah. But
I almost feel like they give you
these.
They give these to you, right? They download these, I think.
I think what these scribbles are, because there is a body of knowledge that we all have, right? We get it from either formal education, reading, meeting people, whatever it is. So there's all of that. But what these are is almost like a barcode of amazing amounts of information. I think that would just take volumes.
Wow.
So it's expressed in that way. And it's just amazing. I don't know who they are. I have some psychic friends who say, oh, it's from the 12th dimension, or it's Palladian, but I never ask.
Right.
I don't know who my guides are by name.
Right.
I just feel them. I appreciate them.
And you also work with the Trinfinity 8.
I
Kathy
do.
Fortes. And I know with Kathy, she had a near-death experience.
Yes.
And then all of those symbols, James, were downloaded to her.
All the algorithms. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. I know people like Kathy have gone through very dramatic life experiences, and then they get all these beautiful downloads. I specifically said to the universe,
Keep me
I
away.
prefer not to have it that way. I'm open. Just
I
give
understand.
me. Right.
Kelly's been through that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like on Kathy's side. I did that. I did it the hard way.
Oh.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, Kathy Forte or Infinity 8, can you explain what that is? Kelly?
Yeah. Trinfinity 8 is software. It's in my computer, and it comes from realms of beings that really want to help humanity. And so the way they deliver this assistance is through mathematical algorithms. And so Kathy has 5,000 or more, and they deal with the physical, emotional, and spiritual level, because unless we address all these three, we're not really addressing much, are we?
Yeah. And Carol, let
Right.
me interrupt you by saying she got these when she had a near-death experience, and she
Mhm.
came back not a mathematician, knowing nothing about
She
numbers
was
at
a
all.
psychologist.
She
Yes.
was a psychologist, and all of a sudden these numbers and formulas just came out of her.
Yes. And she was interested in quantum medicine and quantum healing. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. Wow.
You know, I
Wow.
read a book in the 80s. It was called The Aquarian Conspiracy,
Sure. I remember
right?
that book.
Remember
Sure.
that?
Sure.
And here we are, right? People of all backgrounds and interests, but we have this commonality that's just drawing us all together.
Now, before we got online, we were talking about you can't will this to happen. So,
Yeah.
do you remember having this? We were just talking about you can't will this.
Yes.
So, and having said that, I know people will say, to James and to me, make this happen, or can you download this, or no, it doesn't work that way. And you were talking about how with you can't will it. It just you're working with somebody, and then the energy comes in.
Yeah, but I set myself up to be, I learned things, I think, differently than most people. Like, I was not taught to meditate to get into the state of mind to do this, right? And I didn't have the spiritual lingo. Like, the first time I ever heard somebody say source, I had no idea what they were talking about.
That's funny.
Yeah. So Dr. Ewan was a very practical, kind of an impatient man. It's like, feel the energy, feel it, wax on, wax off kind of a thing. And for me, it was a little nerve-wracking at times, but I feel very fortunate to have learned that way first. And so I'm a very practical energy healer, and I start with this base of neutrality. So when someone comes to me, I'll listen, but then I go totally open. Like, I don't know where we're going. I don't know what will come in, and I have no attachment to the outcome. So even though I want what's best for every person, I don't allow myself to get invested in that, because then that would narrow the scope, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And so when people see you, you do sessions,
Mhm.
and you do them online, I assume?
I do them over the phone, online, in person if they're here, in California.
I would like a session, please.
I would love that.
I'll drive up.
Do it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And how do you explain to people that say, "What do you do for a living?" What do you tell them?
Oh, that's such a hard one.
Because I had that today. I'm like, "Oh, I write books. I'm looking at books."
Mm, I know.
So how do you explain? What do you just tell them you're an artist, or?
Well, now finally I say I'm an energy healer. I help people with energy.
Yeah,
I mean,
perfect.
before I skirted around it a million different ways, but I thought, hey,
Yeah.
healing is really just opening space for the person to see their life in a way that they have not seen it before.
I love that.
I-
Gail
I-
Jean has a question for it. She says, "Do
We're
you
going-
feel?"
we're going- Michael Tamura was a great healer friend of mine from Japan.
Oh yeah.
And his major part of healing was he'd always say, "I make space."
Yeah.
That's exactly.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Gail Jean says, "Do you feel these light codes are messages from higher beings?"
Absolutely. Yes.
And
And
how-
I'm so grateful. I always acknowledge them and thank them. I also asked, why me? I mean, really, this is important, right? Important stuff. And I said, I'm not an influencer. I don't have a following. I'm not famous. Give it to somebody else, who can do something with it. But no, here it was. And so.
And Carol, a question for you I have, which is on my mind. I wrote a bunch of questions down. So you notice, I don't know if you still do personal artwork, but if you do, have you noticed a change in the quality of art that you do? Has it an effect on your personal artwork?
I do prefer working in abstracts now.
Now,
yeah.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I have on my website, there's a little gallery page with some of my paintings.
Wow.
Oh, I get another good. Shady asks, do you get drained after a session?
No. The only time I get drained is if a person, I call them jumpers, so we've addressed something. There's a beautiful shift. Okay, but what about this? And okay, what about that?
Yeah.
And they're so squirrely
Yeah.
that takes my energy.
Yeah. Well, I call it personality disorders. I go right to it.
I call them body snatchers, but there you go.
Lori LeClaire wants to know, do you do grief healing with this work?
Yes. I had a woman come to me. She was a businesswoman. She had a heartbreak, a relationship that just went really bad. She was crying for 4 days. She couldn't go to work. And so she came, and she says that we accomplished more in 2 hours than 4 years of therapy.
I bet.
Yeah, because, these kinds of things. Here's another one, for example, another boyfriend heartache kind of a thing. And I worked with her over the phone. But here's what it was. I said to her, were you dating 2 men? I mean, 2 men prior to this boyfriend? She said, yes. I said, can you bring him to your mind? And she goes, yeah. I said, that's the one. That's unresolved. And so we worked on, she had no idea. She thought that was done. We worked on that, and she lost interest in grieving for the last one.
And now what about a physical death, like a child that passes over? Have you had that experience with people?
No. Before I learned energy healing, people who had lost children, who had met, would just start talking to me, and I would ask them questions about their child, and we became friends because most people don't want to talk about it for some reason. They're very, they get very nervous. They don't want to make the person feel bad or anything like that. But I was, no, this is normal. Let's talk about it. So.
It's very important. How do you work with anxiety? People are asking.
Well, there's so many reasons for anxiety. Sometimes you're actually psychically picking up somebody else's anxiety,
So
so true.
Yeah, and it's just in your field, in your energetic field. And so I'll always ask that question to myself: is it yours or somebody else's? And invariably, at least there's a percentage of somebody else's stuff coming in.
I see that a lot with people when I do that, and I can read people and I see their energy. Sometimes I call it worry energy, but it's someone else's energy that they're feeding.
Yes. Yeah. It's almost like a distortion energy, so they can't calm themselves down. And so I removed that first, and then there is some breathing space, and then we can get to their issue, and that can go so much faster because the lid has been taken off, holding it down.
Wow. It's great.
Well, I have a question. What do you think about asthma? Have you covered that at all with children or adults or?
When a person has difficulty with taking a deep breath or anything like that, I will, in my mind, I'll imagine them breathing. So I'll take a breath in my mind, and then I'll exhale, and I'll see which one is weakening them. Some people, it's on the exhale, and some people is on the inhale, right? So then why is that happening? Why can't you exhale? Is that a physical reason, emotional? Is it spiritual? See, so then it's like going through the files, and it's different for everybody.
And Vivian Lassard asked, does one session usually work to correct the energy? Just one session, or do you need several sessions?
It can, it depends. Like, let's see. I had a man come. He was very troubled. He was troubled because he couldn't stop thinking of an old army buddy who had passed. And he said, I don't know if this is normal. I don't know if he's trying to talk to me. And I don't consider myself a medium. So it was like one of those, well, let's see. And as we sat talking, I saw that hologram. And what I saw was this man in front of me standing in a church giving a eulogy for his friend. And it was so clear. I could see the color of the wood, the windows, and everything.
Wow.
So I asked him, because I didn't want to freak him out. It was his first time seeing me. I said,
Yeah.
did you by any chance give a eulogy for your friend? And he said, I did. And I said, and was it in a church that looked like? And he just started to tear up. And I said, your friend is acknowledging what you did for him. He's so grateful. And it just gave him so much relief. Yeah. But I didn't expect that to happen.
It gave him closure.
Yeah.
Really good.
A great question here from Shady again. Do you think that those that do or have done drugs make tears in the etheric field?
That is a good question. Possibly, but right now I'm also getting a tear in the heart chakra.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the more I stay with that, I'm feeling it in the throat too. So I think it's affecting various aspects.
Interesting. Wow.
How long does a session last?
Anywhere from 50 minutes. I mean, if people don't talk a lot, if they don't want to recount a lot of storytelling, I go very fast, really. So it all depends. Some people enjoy basically almost like a talk therapy, but I have to remind them that as we're talking about something that is really important to the issue, it's automatically correcting, because that's how I set it up. Otherwise, we're just talking and reliving, and that's not helpful.
So it's acknowledged it's being healed, balanced,
yes.
or removed.
Yeah, or at least softened enough that we can get to it, and
Here's a question for you. Anne Margaret asks, do you think most chronic conditions are trauma-based and are held in the body or the chakra?
That's a good question. I think both or either. When I was younger, I had chronic low back pain to the extent that I didn't even realize I was in pain anymore.
Wow.
It was all the time. And looking back, I didn't feel very secure about things. There was a lot of change going on in my life, and and I didn't know how to handle it. And I was very, very, very sensitive. So it makes sense. So that trauma got lodged in the tissue, in the vertebrae, and possibly in the chakra area as well.
Wow. Gail Jean says, you always ask if you should remove blockage at the time, or some blockages. I found that persons must work through themselves. That's interesting. Or I think you can give it a signpost to say, this is what I'm seeing.
Yes, that's true. But I work on
different levels.
Animals and children, and they don't give me permission to do that, and they're not working through their problems. So,
and I bet they're a lot easier to work with too.
They're a lot easier, yeah. No, it's really it's an adjustment in the field is what it is, the field of energy. However, because I don't want to intrude on anybody's energy, I would always, ask for permission. Mm-hmm. A lot of the work can be done silently. And then I'll ask, well, how are you feeling now about that? Think about that again. Is it the same or different? And they don't know what I've done. They weren't working through anything in a logical sense, but they were in their field.
Yeah.
Telepathically.
On another level. And here's one, Al Art by Nancy says, is it ever too late in life to heal? I ask because if someone has life-saving surgery, but the underlying issue may not have been healed, is there still a way to heal?
Oh, I believe that. I do.
I think yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, here's a great question from Sherry Abdu. Have you worked with OCD, specifically excessive hand washing and irrational thoughts?
Good question.
That is a good question. Let me think about that. Gosh, I cannot remember, and yet I think I should. I feel there was somebody, but it doesn't come to mind. But again, the roots, the causes, the reasons are all so different. So that's why when I sit down to write a code, I'm not writing for one person. One person, like, oh, let's say someone came to me and said, "Can you help me with OCD?" And I decide I'm listening to a lot of these requests. Oh, it's time to sit down and maybe, create a code. But in doing that, I'm really bringing in many, many, many kinds of reasons for that. A lot of shifting, strengthening, deleting, things like that. So,
Carol, do you? It's a strange question. Do you have a book yet? And I think you're working on it. And if you do, are you putting the symbols in there, or?
I love that question because you're the third person who's bringing up a book to me.
Let's get it done. Girl, let's get it done.
And
let's get it done.
I said, I don't know. And then somebody else said, well, you need to write a book. And I said, well, maybe. And now you're bringing it up, and I'm thinking, son of a gun.
Well, for all the symbols and then the background of it, the reasons why. I mean, that would help so many people.
Yeah, that would be great.
We'll talk about it, Carol.
Okay.
That's a good question.
We'll talk about it. Yeah.
Deborah Lopez asked, she said, would this help somebody who suffers from mental illness like borderline personality disorder, BPD? What do you think? I think it would, because that's really great trauma. I think it would, your work. Have you worked with anybody that are, how would you describe it, emotionally need to regulate?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I tend to be like a guitar string, you know what I mean? Like if somebody comes to me and they have something going on, whether it's high anxiety, inability to relax, mental thoughts racing, and I don't give things labels. Like I don't call it OCD. I'm looking at, well, how does that is expressing itself? What's happening here, right? So I do that. And then I adjust my own voice, I guess, my demeanor to the person so that they can meet me on that plane, and then we can work out some things.
Okay, this is a great question from Amy Craver. Do you have any thoughts on autoimmune disease and possible tie to grief?
Autoimmune disease is just basically the body not recognizing itself or the programs that it was originally set up to carry out for us, right?
Wow.
So it feels like it's a glitch in the central nervous system. And that central nervous system is very vulnerable to thoughts, feelings, emotions, traumas, external toxins, a myriad of things. So it's what is affecting the central nervous system and the communication between the cells. I actually have a set which encompasses a lot of that: central nervous system, cellular communication. Yeah, because it's so important. And the thing is, with these codes, if you have a condition that you're trying to remedy, then use it often. Use it until one day you realize, hey, I don't think I'm using that anymore,
Well, talk to us about this. You've got a coupon code for $75 off for the Ultimate Healing Chakra set.
What does that mean? What is the Ultimate Healing Chakra?
The ultimate, right?
And I believe when you say it, yes.
So this one is the crown chakra. And this is what when you download the codes, they look like this. So there's a how to use them, a suggested intention, and then the picture. So it's actually the picture that you're looking at, and it's simple. It's as simple as...
You just downloaded that, Carol? That just came to you?
The chakra set? Well, yeah, because a lot of discussion was going on about chakras at one time around me.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this sounds important. And so I sat down and and looked at each one and what might be needed, what's happening, what's going on. And it's also encompasses the spirit, the past lives, anything that could have affected the chakra, one's own thinking or perception about how a person's being thought of by somebody else, a million things. So, and they can be looked at individually or all together, one after the other.
I'll be getting that set. Yes.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah.
Rose,
and it's easy. Here's the thing about the codes. I just want to say, James, it bypasses logic. So you don't need to say, oh, I need to be working on my chakra right now. No, we just look at the picture and relax.
And resonate with it or not, feel if it's with you or not.
Yeah. So it's a right brain activity.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
The best kind.
Rose Mitchum says, she goes, I have a hearing loss and I was told it's from birth. How could this be from past life? Well.
Well, yes. It could
or you're not allowed to hear. Or
it could be blunt force trauma to the head. It could have been that in a past life, that person was deaf, or maybe their child was, or, it could be a number of reasons. Or that you were sitting in a classroom, tethered to your chair and desk, and you were a very active child, and you just couldn't take it anymore. You just shut down. You stopped listening.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah. Good insight. Wow. Yeah,
we're very expansive as humans. We've taken a lot of information, and we're processing all the time.
And Carol, with your symbols and what you download, just a question comes to my head. How can I put this to you? You get information which is not human, or this dimension.
Mm-hmm.
How can you express that, whether it's in word or on paper? How can you describe what you get in those other levels? Like, hard to describe human in the human sense or physical sense.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your best way to describe that energy?
Well, specifically with the codes, because I do get interventions, from other realms about things, but specifically with this, it came about so unexpectedly. When I had no idea what was happening, it was that fast, and so this is quick. It's like down and dirty. And I even asked recently again, why me? Why don't you? And I got, hey, look, you're going to be on this show, and people are interested. Just be patient. It's fine. It's all fine. So I have the sense that they're not in a sense of urgency because they don't live on my timeline. And I was taking it on like, oh, I'm sorry, I just can't do this right now. I don't know how. And it's like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So finally, I just.
Well, also, you're designed, your body, your mind, the way you think, you have been chosen for this because you were an artist. So you already right brained. You're already able to receive, if you will. Mm-hmm. So for a lot of different reasons, I'm sure.
Divine design, Kelly. Divine design, and you're the vessel for this level of information, if I could put it that way. Mm-hmm. This level of information, because all the universe measured numbers. It's all that. Oh. But I always see kaleidoscopes of energy.
So
really
how
nice.
do people get to you? Because I know so many people want to sign up. They're asking how to do this.
Yeah, they can go to my website, connectingyourdots.com, and just write to me through there.
Yeah. Do you have a system on your website that signs people up, or is through email or phone call?
Yes, you can sign up for my newsletter, and you will get a free Duchini code. It's precious. This calm-centered whole. If I had nothing else, I think I would just keep this one. It is amazing. Yeah. So, and that's for free. And then just ask me anything you like, or you can set up a session with me online.
And again, the reason I wanted Carol to come on, because when we had that dinner, it was just so magical. And I thought, got to share this with the world, got to share this with people, because Carol's very humble and shy in a way. And I knew that she needed help with that to get this message out. Because
that was really kind. Thank you.
It was meant
people are Carrie E says I'm mesmerized.
Yeah.
A lot of really good information.
You have that vibration that you were meant to do this work because you have that high frequency and you're open. Like Kelly said, you're an artist, you're creative. So, who
Spirit
better
knows what it's doing.
You?
And I'm a detective. When I was in college, they gave us aptitude tests, what are your interest inventories and all of that. And it was art, psychology, detective work. What else?
Perfect.
Fashion design.
You're a high-minded Scorpio. You really are. You're a high-minded Scorpio. Yep.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Carol. It's a
thank
pleasure to
you.
have
Thank
you
you,
on
Carol.
tonight.
Really an honor.
I just
Wow.
enjoyed it so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Sharon.
everybody. Thanks,
Thanks,
James.
everybody. Thanks, Kelly.
Take care,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kelly White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.
The James and Kelly Show.